All right, we have a few important things to break down. First of all, Democratic politicians are firing back at Donald Trump after his offensive press conference this morning talking about the disaster in D.C., where he tried to place blame on DEI, which just means black Americans in his eyes. He tried to place blame on Obama, Biden, even Pete Buttigieg, he tried to place blame on, and Mayor Pete just fired back in a very satisfying way. We'll cover that, but I also want to talk about the conservative reaction, the MAGA reaction to Trump's insane press conference, because there's two sections, I like to think. There are the hardcore MAGA Republicans. You guys have seen me interview them. They are drenched in Trump gear, just covered in Trump hats and flags. But then there is also another section of conservatives, and people hate when I say this, but it's true. Not all Republican voters are so captured by the MAGA movement that they can't criticize Trump. There are many voters who genuinely just saw their grocery prices go up and didn't understand the global factors that went into that, so they thought, hey, Trump's going to fix things. People disagree with me on that, but yes, there are a lot of conservatives who are still rational and who can see when a president is going down the drain. And we can see that right here in the conservative subreddit, the subreddit that is solely dedicated to conservatives. I mean, it's basically the Trump subreddit. The profile picture right here is Trump's face after the assassination attempt. Almost everybody in this thread is saying, what is wrong with Trump? Why was that press conference so crazy? I want to break this down. Make sure you drop a like. Make sure you subscribe so we can get to 1 million subscribers. And before we break this down, let's talk about what Pete Buttigieg said, because during the press conference, Trump tried to place blame on everybody. It was all a master class in deflection. I won't even say master class because he did it very poorly, but he is a master deflector. Every step of the way, he blamed it on DEI, then an Obama policy from 2012 that he never overturned, then a Biden policy, all these different things. And it culminated into him saying Pete Buttigieg was such a mess that it's partially his fault. And Pete Buttigieg responded, despicable. As families grieve, Trump should be leading, not lying. We put safety first. We drove down close calls. We grew air traffic control and had 0 commercial airline crash fatalities out of millions of flights on our watch. President Trump now oversees the military and the FAA. One of his first acts was to fire and suspend some of the key personnel who helped keep our skies safe. Time for the president to show actual leadership and explain what he will do to prevent this from happening again. I think Pete Buttigieg is asking for too much because Trump is not a real leader. Someone said this on Twitter and it was super true. Trump is addicted. He's like any other addict. He's addicted to the cameras and the attention. And like any other addict, he will do anything to get that attention, no matter the consequences. In the same way that someone would steal money from their family member to go buy their next hit of drugs because they don't care about the consequences, when he begins fiending for the attention of cameras, he will go out there and disrespect American families who just lost their loved ones. There was even a moment where Caitlin Collins asks for a list of the names, and he goes, a list? Why do we need a list? What does that mean? They're dead. We don't need a list for anything. And it's like, dude, you are a leader. Maybe just stand up straight, keep your chin up, and act like a leader for once. But again, that's too much to ask. Tommy Vitor of Pod Save America said, Trump blames DEI for deadly plane crash before introducing former Real World Boston cast member and Fox News host Sean Duffy, who he selected to be the Secretary of Transportation for some reason. If you want to talk about DEI, let's talk about Trump's entire administration being full of people who were plucked off of TV. They're all the women in his admin are basically the same blonde women. I told this story before, but I went to one of his rallies a few months back. I've been to a bunch of Trump rallies. And everybody who was working the stands, working the press pass area, they were all just blonde women of roughly the same age. And I remember I didn't notice until my cameraman tapped on the shoulder. He was like, why does Trump only hire blonde women? I mean, look at his new press secretary. It's this weird pattern with Donald Trump where he selects people based on their looks and not based on their merit. And I know people are going to get mad that I said that, but no, he selects people solely based on their looks and not their merit. Even Hakeem Jeffries said, bodies are still being pulled from the Potomac. The president and extreme MAGA Republicans are blaming women and people of color for the deadly plane crash. At the same time, they are dismantling the Federal Aviation Administration as we know it. Disgusting. And this brings us on to the MAGA reaction. As I said, this subreddit is called r/conservative. And this title says, Trump says he has a pretty good idea of cause of DC plane crash and tears into DEI hiring in first press briefing. And let's read some of the top comments. So this person, who describes himself as a Reagan conservative, said, "Not the time to do this, to score political points. Let's let the investigators do their job and families mourn." You know, that's a rational response. The top comment on that says, "Trump will never not use a moment to promote his political points nor opinions, no matter how irrelevant to the situation they are." This one says, "Same old Trump. He can never keep his mouth shut." This conservative says, "I absolutely agree, and he should be the bigger person." But then they say, "I think it's fair to remember that the mainstream media wasted no time at all to blame Trump." Okay, this person is running defense for Trump by saying the mainstream media blamed him first, but the only reason they did that is because he deserves all of the blame. Did Trump have any empathy when the wildfires in LA started, or did he immediately start calling Governor Newsom new scum? Within the hour that the fire broke out, he was saying this is new scum's fault, new scum's fault. How about when the bridge collapsed in Baltimore? Did Republicans have any empathy, or did they just say it's because of the DEI mayor, which doesn't even make sense? How does somebody get elected through DEI? They're just saying black mayor. This person says, "Terrible take. At least wait for the report to come out before pointing fingers." This person says, "The worst part is he started off strong and should have ended it after he said our love is going out to the victims. I'm sure in the background they're handling investigations, but the way they've faced this, or the way they're facing the public, is terrible." Someone said that's basically the whole political career of Trump. Someone said he couldn't refrain from talking out of his ass to save his life. Just express sympathy and let the experts talk. Every pilot I've heard has laid the blame squarely on the helo. Someone said, "I was watching this. I'm very upset he's using this as an opportunity to lean into political talking points. Very irresponsible way to respond after 64 people just died." Okay, obviously these people are still being soft on Trump. They should be calling him a blithering idiot who doesn't know how to lead a country. But seeing the conservative subreddit, seeing Trump voters acknowledge this, it's a good first step. Someone responded this, "I love the man, but now is not the time for political posturing." Why do you love the man? Why? Someone said, "Why would he fucking say this?" The response says, "Wondering the same thing. He posted a questionable post about it on Truth Social as well." Someone said, "Tact has always been his weakest point, and I say that as someone who appreciates his actual policies." I don't know what you could appreciate about him, but again, these are conservatives. Someone said, "Gross. Bad Donald. His mouth is his best friend or his worst enemy based on how he uses it. Bad Trump, he can't control himself." Someone said 99% chance it was a combination of darkness and someone not paying attention, which, yeah, that's most likely. When we're talking about why the crash happened, we don't know. We don't want to speculate, but from all of the information we have, it seems like the helicopter pilot had a miscommunication in the darkness. Someone said, "Trump, I agree with you about the DEI hiring for these types of positions, but now is not the time to be placing blame before we know all of the facts." Someone said, "Agreed. Him speaking without facts actually hurts the cause." The next person said, "Agree. Now is not the time at all. First, find out exactly what the cause was." So again, we are reading conservatives who are saying Trump screwed up. We are about 1 week into his presidency, and conservatives are already admitting that was a disastrous press conference. And notice how people like Ben Shapiro are oddly quiet about this. People like Charlie Kirk are oddly quiet about this press conference. They know it was a bad look for the president to be doing that. This says, who told him going into political talking points in the press conference was a good idea? Because they need to be fired immediately. Someone said definitely jumped the gun with that. That briefing definitely wasn't the time after a big tragedy that occurred less than 24 hours ago. Get all the facts and determine the cause first. And the thing is, Trump did the same thing on New Year's Day when there were multiple terrorist attacks. Remember when the guy drove a truck through a crowd in St. Louis? Trump immediately said he was an immigrant. It ended up being completely false, and he got away with zero accountability. But now that he is the leader of the country, you can't just go out on stage and bullshit when people expect you to bring the facts. It is irresponsible, it is incompetent, and I'll leave it at that. Drop a like, subscribe, have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.